This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 15th Board of Public Works meeting. I will make a motion to open this evening's meeting.
A second motion.
Thomas Salisbury,
Yes.
Leah Strode,
Yes.
Bill Hogan,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
All right. Item number 1, public speak. We do not have anyone this evening addressing the board. Item number 2, approval of the March 18th regular meeting minutes. Was everyone able to review what was prepared? Any issues? All right, I will make a motion to approve the minutes as prepared.
Second motion.
Excuse me.
I know.
Oh my God. Gotta be quick.
Thomas Salisbury,
Yes.
Leah Strode,
Yes.
Bill Hogan,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, and then we also have item number 3, approval of the public hearing minutes that we held on March 18th for rate setting public hearing we had. I will make a motion, I'm sorry. Everyone able to review what was prepared? Any issues? All right, the rates are official. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Thomas Salisbury,
Yes.
Leah Strode,
Yes.
Bill Hogan,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
I don't want to keep the.
Right, there we go.
Alright.
Accident.
Item number 4 on the agenda, agreement for the enterprise indirect cost allocation. This was requested by Mayor Derby.
Hello.
And you also a memo and draft that was attached to the email for the meeting. So what you discuss.
So yeah, I think the impetus for this is the chargeback hasn't been reviewed since 2015. Best practice probably is at least every 3 years. Probably yearly is the best practice. And so, I think the intent with the very basic proposal I sent over was to try to true up some of the, areas where we need to get trued up.
Correct.
And I did get your response, and I appreciate that. And I think that you're right. The financial policy, spells out a way for us to work through this.
Correct.
I was working on a little bit of an accelerated timeline.
Obviously,
So, and I think really where we're at right now is enterprise is going to be on a relatively stable footing.
correct.
The city right now is not on a stable footing. And so there are areas where we're going to need to kind of dig in. And so I think really what is going to make the most sense is to not act rashly and to really dive into this, which I've started to do, to look at how we can true this in a way that we can reflect actual impact to city services and what the city provides to enterprise
Right.
in a fair way. And so with the auditor and myself have started to, she's in India. So it was not something that we really could work too in depth. We had like a 2-hour window this morning before it became too late.
All right.
But I think really what probably the best path forward is for, she's going to be getting back in May, for us to be able to sit down and do the full kind of by the financial policy review to make sure that we're going to be in line. But I do also want to acknowledge that the current rates were not set using that methodology.
Correct, yeah, I was gonna, after this, I was gonna do a brief, to bring everybody up on what I.
And so there was, there is a little bit of, and in a couple areas where, and another thing that the city hasn't been doing, which I think is gonna probably have to start happening, is an end of fiscal year kind of analysis
Yes.
of actuals, and looking at a true up then as well. I'll give you an example, the collector's office.
Mhm.
So on the current 2015 policy, I can't remember what the actual number is.
Well, for the collections, that's the only one that's outlined as a ratio 2,
Right.
which in the modern equivalent is a transactional, where it's a proportional basis of units that go through the account, so.
And so if we look at that, it's going to be probably at least 50%.
Right. And that's what I wanted to bring to you is, I think we would, after the discussion, we'll all agree that the enterprise needs to pay its fair share. And right now, they're all kind of set in the existing 2015 model. They're all arbitrarily, or not arbitrarily, but at the time, they decided 10%
Right.
across the board, except for the collectors, which was, proportional, was sufficient. And, in the end, we might find some departments it's 5%, some departments it's 50, some departments it's, and the modern policy sort of, as I presented in that email to you, is like, I think we need to have like a schedule that we have, and then we true up every year with the previous year's financials for the next fiscal budget. And I think that's the way I see it, this was set in 2015, which was before my term on the board in 2019. And I was aware of it, but I just assumed, not assumed, but that, the previous administration and previous auditors were looking at that annually and saying 10% still works for us. So
Right.
they never presented it to the board to ask us to update
Exactly.
it until
And now
briefly before Mayor LaChapelle left, she mentioned that there was this new policy that was coming into effect and she wanted to get it on for the next fiscal budget, so.
Exactly. And, so I think that that is really where we're coming from, is just wanting to start getting a modern
Mhm.
way to figure this out so we can really.
It's very similar to what we've tried to implement with the rate
the rate
setting
setting.
and even the fee review, it was like 2 years ago that we actually looked at the fees, which hadn't been updated since 2006. So it was like 19 years that fees had been stagnant. So
Yep.
that's, everything's kind of getting into a modern review cycle, and that's in my email to you proposed, I think it would, if the requirement is every 3 years, I don't see a harm in doing it annually as part of your pre-budget,
Exactly.
True.
And so really, I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish,
Yep.
which is to get this in front of you guys and start the discussion.
Yep.
We're not necessarily in a rush. I mean, no matter what, we're kind of we're in a very precarious place,
Understood.
regardless of this. But one of the things with truing up and getting these numbers to reflect, an accurate,
Mhm.
it's gonna help the city side budget
Obviously.
too. So
Yeah, I think unfortunately the burden is now on the administrative side for the auditor to sort of work through all those cost centers and get the actual percentage of, but once that is, I think we can get it into a document that's legible and usable and implementable, and, the board could quickly act on that in a single meeting if,
perfect.
I think what I wanted to bring to you was that they can't, and I think you also got that they can't be arbitrary or a reach for, we need
We need
some-
money. Bring
we
it
need
to
some
us.
of your enterprise,
That's- and that's not what we're looking for.
well,
We
and
just
also,
wanna-
Mass General Law does not allow that, the reconciliation is, we reimburse what is due based on the burden we implement to the other city services outside of the enterprise, so that was my only concern was
Yep,
to make sure.
and I think that, now that we've started working on it, it's a little hard when she's in India.
Obviously,
But it is, and so she should be back, early May.
yeah, I think that's what,
We're gonna, by then, we're gonna be getting very close to, I think we'll have a little bit of time to
yeah,
put
like I
towards
said,
this.
I'm gonna go over with them and bring them up to speed on this policy and sort of what we're looking at, so, when you do have something to present, we can act on it quickly and all understand how it was documented and how it was generated and what it means, for how it allocates out of the enterprise fund.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's great. That's really all I needed to bring.
That's wonderful. Thank you. No, it's good. Like I kind of knew it was out there, but it's, you know, good to see that it's actually getting trued up and,
Yeah.
and modernized. So
Thank you.
Should we set a day where we like a goal of working
Well-
that out, like the May 20th meeting?
yeah, I mean,
I will not be here.
Or, the 6th would be awfully quick.
yeah.
No, I don't know if
She's
she
not
might-
even back by
I
then.
don't
By
even
her
know if
out of
she's gonna-
office, I think
yeah.
it was. Yeah.
We'll see if we can
Well, I
work
mean,
towards the 20th.
you could present it on the 20th, and then we can get
Perfect.
everything out and then act on it in our first June meeting. With, you could have the assumption of that's what we're going to approve. So you could use that in your budgeting
Right.
by the end of that month. I think, right, is when you're.
Yeah, we need to, city council's probably gonna be, well, we'll know then what type of budget we're voting on.
Right.
But it's gonna be, closer to the end of June, because
Yeah.
the election is going to be June 9th
Okay.
for the override.
We'll handle that. We can work through that when she's back,
Yeah.
and I can share the information
Yeah.
with the board accordingly. And,
Yep. And we've already started, using the financial policies, started to develop a matrix, so
Perfect.
get it going.
Wonderful.
So hopefully we'll have it ready for you.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, that's all I have.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the discussion on the topic. Otherwise, I'm just going to be sort of sharing.
I might stick around for a minute.
Sure.
I gotta go up to the finance.
Yeah.
It's here at 5:30, isn't it?
Oh, it's in here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's upstairs.
Is it upstairs?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like, oh,
All right.
Yeah.
So what we've been discussing is in May of '25, the city revised and formalized all its financial policies. And the one that's applicable to this is the indirect cost allocation policy, which went into effect, this fiscal year. So
Make copies?
I do, of course.
Awesome.
So you're more, through the city's website, you can go to the budget page, and then this is the top available link at the downloads if you want to see all 60-some pages, but, this is what is pertinent to our discussion. And what I think you all saw what the mayor had sent out, which, the FY, this is what got sent out. And it's basically an update of the 2015 version. And I know you guys didn't generate this,
Right.
but I found it incredibly dense to parse and sort of what was applying to what. And I looked to sort of see how other places do it, and a more modern way of implementing it is basically called like a schedule of basically these are all the, in here they have all the different cost centers and stuff. So you just kind of line those up, and then to determine the percentage, in here, there are 4 methods to determine how the cost gets allocated. So it's either actual cost, proportional, estimate of support, which is kind of like, you can think of it as like, how many hours in a given week does the mayor's office support the enterprise funds?
Certainly, yeah.
So currently, all of them are set at 10%, which is probably not true. It's hard to quantify that. So, they'll have to go through and sort of figure out, how much time does engineering department, how much time does the road, service, So then this will get populated with the percentage and then how it gets allocated to the 2 enterprise funds. Historically, most of them are administrative, so they've been split 50-50. Ones that deal with like personnel or other stuff get split 1/3, 2/3 based on the sizes of the departments. So, but city auditor and the mayor's office and Greg will actually work out those numbers. That was just kind of a model I put together so I could wrap my head around what was in this document versus, so not that you have to use that, but that was a way for me to quickly, and it would be something that would be easily maintainable that the auditor would just sort of need to rerun the calcs to find the current fiscal year.
So when we're talking about a yearly reallocation, it might be like maybe total staff numbers changed and.
Or we had a very particularly large project that engineering put a lot more time into, so
Got it.
it would never true up the previous year. They would sort of get reimbursed the following year, based on those true up numbers. So you know,
It's like if you had, also like another one would be if you had someone, an employee that was on like a single plan for health insurance and then got married, or, you know, grew their family and then went on the family plan, we are only budgeting or you know, chargebacking for the single plan,
that was.
right? And so then there's, you know, so we haven't been going back and accounting for those types of things.
Well, we technically have, that's what I was trying to get to, that it's, not that the current system is perfect, but it has captured those costs in that every year that department's budget gets larger and we always pay 10% of it. So, you know, I did one quick calc as an example that for the city auditor's budget in FY15, it was $108,000 was the line item for that budget. So the enterprise funds reimbursed $10,800, and by 2026, that budget item had grown to $228,000. So we reimbursed $22,800. So our reimbursement went up $12,000 over those years. So it, you know, we have been paying proportional of the budgets. It's not you know,
Right.
did the city auditor actually put in 15% of their time or 20% of their time? You know, that we haven't, that is the metric that hasn't been updated per policy, per the new policy. So, you know, they're not always gonna be round numbers, it might be, you know, 22%, you know, but the city auditor will provide them.
Yeah.
But it's gonna true up what it's basically the goal of it is to have the enterprise funds reimburse the city's general fund for services provided.
100%, and that's appropriate, I
Yep.
think. I mean, like, are projects tracked to the project I mean, is stuff billed to the project level like you would as a consultant? I mean,
That
I'm
I don't
just
know.
like, yeah,
Do you in any way track, like, I don't know the timekeeping system of.
Like we don't have that
It's,
solidified
don't
at
have
this
that
point.
level of detail.
Yeah, so,
and-
I mean, I would be satisfied with department heads reporting their best estimate, you know, that, you know, I don't think we need to track time, but I think we need a paper trail and documentation as to how each annual chargeback percentage is calculated, and that will come from the city's auditor, be certified. It'll go into this, we'll approve it, and the next fiscal year, on June 15th, she'll reimburse the general fund based on these percentages. So, I think, you know, that's my understanding of the
Yep.
method.
I think that's right.
So, and it's just one of those things that, you know, I guess the previous system had worked until you really look at it. And then you're like, yeah, we probably should have looked at that sooner, but it wasn't brought to the board ever, so
Yeah, no,
as far as I was concerned, the mayor's office and the city auditor were, you
that's
know,
where it should come from.
pleased with the, you know, we're satisfied with the reimbursement of indirect costs, so. That is your homework. That was my crash course since Monday when I got back from vacation and saw the email and I was
Oh,
like,
sorry about that.
No, I was like, I think I need to learn about indirect costs.
I had that too, in addition to a lot of
A lot of,
things
yeah,
going on last week.
You're getting the
so-
municipal budgeting.
Oh, it's-
Fire hose.
It's the fire hose. It's fire
Yeah.
hydrant. I might as well just
Yeah.
like put my head over the hydrant, rip the top off. But we wouldn't have that metered, so that would be an
Yeah,
issue.
that'd be a problem. Yeah.
That's municipal use.
I like that one. That's a good one. I thought. I gotta run up to finance, but thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and
I'll be up shortly. so
We'll get you
they're-
guys you know,
Yeah.
something good to review.
Thank
They're
you so
looking
much.
for me, I'll be right up
Okay.
as soon as we're done.
No problem.
So,
Alright.
I'm happy to entertain any questions on that, or if you want to just digest.
yeah, I think time to just think about it.
Yep. But yeah, my main concern was, that this document was hard to interpret.
Yeah.
And also, I think it was in the early phases of the mayor trying to figure out where where additional funds would be available. That just adding 10% to all these numbers, it's not a rate that the enterprise fund pays. You know, how like we set rates for water and sewer usage. These were, well, it's a reimbursement for the time and resources that the department used.
It's like a proportion.
So it's a proportion, so like increasing, you know, like one of the line items is, you know, the city solicitor. Or, you know, when this was developed in FY15, they decided that 10% of the city solicitor's budget would be paid by the enterprise funds. And by just arbitrarily adding 10% to that, you're now saying that the city solicitor is now using 20% of their time, which I don't feel is justified, you know, according to the documentation required in the new financial policy. You know, they can't be, they're not a number that, you know, in his email to us, he said, you know, he would like to impose a 10% increase for the 11 years that it hasn't been increased. You know, basically saying that the rate should have increased 1% a year, but it's not a rate we pay, it's a usage of resource. So that would imply that the enterprise funds are using 1% more of the city's resources every year, which is
Not really.
not
Right,
you know,
right.
some departments maybe, but you know, it would imply that, you know, the mayor's office is spending at least one day a week supporting the enterprise funds, which, you know, we may find that number to be lower and the engineering department does more, you know. So you know, one of the things I had looked at was when this was passed for the fiscal year 2015. Actually, I had attached the meeting minutes from 2014 when they approved it. And it seems like historically, they would do the true up in actual numbers every year, like actual costs, and the board would approve the indirect cost reimbursement. And this was a new policy where rather than doing actual dollar amounts, they moved to a percentage base, which then allowed it to automatically every year, the city auditor could just use 10%.
Proportion.
It would be the same proportion instead of the city auditor figuring out, these are the numbers we need, you know, 150,000, you know, to the penny. So that's when the policy just got set and sort of was on autopilot for the last decade.
Yeah.
Because it grew with the annual budgets. But with the implementation of this, the policy now states that, you know, each cost center should be evaluated by the auditor, so. That's the history of my understanding of it. So we'll see what they can prepare. Are you comfortable with you know, that approach?
Absolutely, yeah, if I get anything, I'll share it out with you guys before the next meeting. Well, probably won't have anything before the next meeting, but the meeting after.
Yeah.
And then we'll work through it and come up with a proportional fair.
Yeah, like I said, you know, obviously the enterprise fund should reimburse the city for all its costs, but, you know, per the new policy, I don't want to sign off on anything until I feel it's in compliance with the policy and defensible. Yeah. That's
I have one last question.
yes, obviously.
This dropped about a year ago.
Mhm.
What was the impetus for that?
I do not know.
Okay.
Alls I know is, which I pieced more of it together now looking back, in May of 2025, Mayor LaChapelle reached out to me saying she wanted to revisit the indirect cost policy in light of new financial policies that were coming out. And she wanted it added to our July meeting, you know, to basically do what Mayor Derby just did, to present it to us and get it moving for this fiscal year. So it's supposed to be on our July 15th agenda, and then she resigned on the 9th of July, so it never got added to the agenda, and, you know, it kind of not got dropped, but, you know, I just assumed the city solicitor was working on it, or the city auditor, so. Yeah, we were supposed to get a briefing on it in July, and then with the interim mayor and all that, it just never came back to the agenda. Until now, which is, you know, well due to do, and it was supposed to be done for this fiscal year ahead of the FY27 budget preparation. It got caught, you know, in the 11th hour, and it will get done.
When are FY27 budgets? What's the deadline?
Well, it should be in place for July 1st, right?
Yeah, it has to be, we have to have a budget in place for July 1st. Right. The city council's deadline to approve it, well, if we're talking,
Mid-July.
well, he just said June 9th for the override election, right?
Right.
So you're, I would imagine,
The next meeting.
know whether we're going with whether a budget with an override or without, and then that would probably be in front of the city council at their next meeting, or
Right, well, that would have to be introduced and then approved at the following
Yeah,
one.
so right
It
around
would
the
be,
end of June.
it would be, yeah, that override vote makes it basically two city council meetings and then next fiscal year. So, it's tight. Any other questions or discussion on that topic? Alright, and I'll make a motion to continue that to the next meeting.
So we'll keep it on the agenda for the first week.
Yeah, in case,
That way you guys can
in
speak.
case
Yeah.
we guys,
Yep.
you guys wanna
And if
discuss
I do
it.
happen to get anything, I can share it.
Yeah, but if not,
Before
you guys will have time to have digested this. We can talk about any other questions or bring up any other points we'd like to make sure are included in what the mayor delivers in the June meeting.
So you made
I made
a
the motion.
I second.
Seconded.
Eva?
This is amazing.
No. Are you for finance or?
Yeah.
What's,
Thomas
I guess it's
Salisbury?
upstairs. Yeah, I'll be right up.
Sorry to bother you. Leah Strode,
Yes.
Gil Hogan,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries. It'll be on the next agenda.
Alright, item number 5, director's report.
Okay. I wish I had an update for you for the aerator project at the wastewater plant, but we've been waiting for the flows to get back to normal. They're getting there, and then we just gotta line up with the contractor schedule, so should have something for the next meeting. I had the Everett Street, the sanitary sewer collapse from last month still on here, just because we were closing Everett Street tomorrow to patch that trench from that repair, so 8 to 2 tomorrow, a little detour in place out there while they put that pavement back together. I do have some good news on the Fort Hill Road paving project. We have the official bid schedule for that, the paving of Fort Hill Road, the bridge deck. So it'll be hitting, advertised for bid on April 22nd. We'll have a mandatory pre-bid conference with prospective bidders on May 7th, and then we open bids for that on May 26th. So, May 18th, 26th. So, that'll be one of our bigger, our bigger projects for this summer. So the water department SCADA project, we have a bid opening date got moved for that to Monday, April 27th at 10 a.m. We did have a pre-submission conference for that for prospective bidders. That was held on April 6th. And we had a handful of vendors show up for that. So hopefully we get some competitive proposals for that project. I do have 4 appropriations in front of the City Council Finance Committee tonight for 4 different things. I'll just go through quickly. We've requested $168,100 from enterprise retained earnings to support the water and sewer design for Maple Street. To hopefully, what I'm trying to do there is line up a project to do the water and sewer on Maple Street so we can pave it. It needs to be paved. It's one of the worst streets in the city. But we may be able to time it all in a way that we can put a strong EOHLC funding application together when the school is turned into housing. So just trying to plan ahead with that funding to be ready for that possibility, that opportunity, I'd say. We are also requesting $196,510 to be transferred from capital stabilization funding to wrap up the Emerald Main water main replacement project. We had a significant amount more of asbestos cement water main that needed to be removed to get the new water main in because the right of way was so small. We ran into a lot of challenges over there, and a lot more blacktop had to go down than we thought because we had to remove a lot more water main than the designers thought. So that funding will be coming from City Capital Stabilization Fund, so no burden on the enterprise for that. And then we're also requesting $200,000 from enterprise retained earnings for water meters. Back in the early 2000s, the water department made a big push towards touchless reading and the radio reading capabilities. The challenge with that is the batteries in the radios that we rely on to get the meter readings have about a 20-year lifespan. So now it's the planned obsolescence of the equipment, and we need more funding available for water meters. And we're finding that the newer meters are significantly more accurate. In time, they will pay for themselves. And that the guys are dealing with 60 to 70 non-reads per cycle when we're out reading, and that's a lot of meters to replace, and the estimated bills to go out from the collector's office, which leads to all sorts of challenges. So that and the concrete floor. Maybe you may remember me talking about the concrete floor needing to be fixed in the sodium hypochlorite containment room at the wastewater treatment plant. We had devoted a small amount of money to that project back in 2023, and then found that the floor was significantly thinner than we thought in some of the areas that were compromised, they were able to go through with a masonry hammer, like it was that bad and that thin. So we had to have some structural evaluations done and then chart a new path forward to get that floor done so we could start storing bulk sodium hypochlorite inside again. We have, right now we're using small containers, which can lead to problems during like a weather event where we can't get deliveries on a regular schedule. So we've asked for $150,000 from retained earnings to go towards getting that floor fixed so we can then get the bulk storage back inside. So just keep picking away at all of it, you know. But it's you know, 4 things moving forward that are good.
They're good
And then,
infrastructure and
yeah, and I'm hoping to have a few more retained earnings appropriations coming through before the end of the fiscal year.
yeah, no, it's been certified.
Yeah.
You can access it again.
Yep.
Any headway or steps towards implementing of the new tiered billing system? Have we been working with the vendor to?
Yeah, in the collector's office, they're
That's-
aware of all the new rates, and that collector's office hasn't reached out with any real concerns about
Okay.
challenges of billing it. Made a couple of cheat sheets for people to refer to for to explain the new rates if they have questions about their bills, things like that. So
Good.
we're in pretty good shape.
With that, if there's no additional information, I'll let Greg get to his next meeting and make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
I have one question.
Surely.
This is a general question. Is there a process for like speed limit signs or speed bumps, speed humps, getting those
So
around town?
It depends. There's no set in stone process. What we generally do is if a resident calls with a concern about speeding in a certain area, we work with the police department. They have the portable speed feedback radar signs that go out, and those actually will collect data.
Mhm.
And then we will take that data and make sure that it's not just a perceived problem and it is
Oh,
occurring. Because a lot of people will think someone is really flying by their house, and their perception is that it's a lot faster than it is.
sure.
And so we then get that data and then go from there. Like, we don't have money to put a speed table in everywhere someone
Yeah.
thinks they want one, and a lot of times you can put one in and they create a noise issue. And we found, like with the speed table that's on Greenwood Court, there was a real problem with people racing through there.
Yeah.
Like the type we put in there, it didn't hold up the way we had hoped for. It was intended to be temporary.
Is it gone?
No, it's still there. I'm working on pricing to have an asphalt one installed there this year, so we'll see if we can do that.
Okay.
And we'll take that one back out. They take that one that's there out. So it's kind of like when we get that concern, we work with the police department and then kind of come up with the best way forward to mitigate the problem. We do have some new radar equipment coming. We have a trailer that will be here that we got a grant for. That should be here any day. And a permanent speed feedback radar sign on for West Street. That's gonna be in the area house number 30. So that we got grant funding for both of those.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to that trailer. It'd be great to be able to move around, and it's big. You know,
Yeah.
it's more attention than the little sign on the existing post.
All right. So call not the police. Call.
If someone has a concern, they can email us, and we'll. The best thing to do is email, so we can just document it all, and then we'll work with the police department to get a sign out to as close as we can to the area.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
That is all. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Thomas Salisbury,
Yes.
Leah Strode. Gil Hogan,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carried.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.